Last fall, Montana was awarded a $500,000 planning grant for the Headwaters Tech Hub, one of 31 total national designations and the only one in a rural state. And the sole Photonics Tech Hub is in Montana. Since then, a lot of progress has been made and a dedicated group has been working to secure next stage funding. So please welcome Matt Olson, who is our Director of Network Development and who has been working hard to ensure Montana's success in this adventure. And he'll introduce his panelists. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. Nancy did a great job of introducing this panel's subject matter and topic, which is photonics and the Headwaters Tech Hub. And one of the things that, so Jason Yeager, head of the Montana Photonics and Quantum Alliance, Stefan Heinemann, general manager of Fix USA. I'll let them talk about what they're doing a little bit more as we get into this conversation. But we ask one question in a lot of these rooms. We've been doing this quite regularly. We have this conversation in many venues around the state. And I'm going to turn it over to Jason for the first audience participation question.
And to be clear, the reason Matt wants to do this is I asked this once and he raised his hand and I called on him. Anyway, it did not go well. So, how many of you, raise your hand, are familiar with the term photonics? We have a few, maybe? Well, Stephanie's cheating because she has a course in this. Matt, what is photonics?
Okay, so there's a lot of hands that went up in here. And when we were first doing this, there were less than a dozen hands that would go up in these rooms. And one of the reasons that Jason continues to ask this question and put me on the spot is because we're trying to increase the level of awareness and knowledge of what the photonics industry is and educate the general Montana audience on the potential of the growth of this photonics industry. So I have a cheat sheet because honestly, I did a LinkedIn photonics course and I still have a hard time describing it. And we had a keynote speaker at the Headwaters Tech Hub Leadership Summit a few months ago, and I stole this off his slide. What is photonics? It's the generation, the manipulation, and the detection of light. So if you send a picture by airdrop, that's an example of photonics. And earlier this morning, the governor made a comment. He said electrons to light. What photonics is going to be to the next generation, our kids, I have kids that are graduating from, are in high school. We're no longer going to be sending information over copper wires. We're going to be sending information over light waves. It's going to transform our entire way of life from agriculture to construction to autonomous vehicles to the farming industry, right? The tractors are going to drive themselves. Todd's dad and grandfather still cannot believe that, okay? So I'm going to pause there, and I'm going to turn it over to Jason to talk a little bit more about the Montana Photonics and Quantum Alliance and what his association does and their role in the Headwaters Tech Hub effort.
Well, thank you, Matt, and well done. Congratulations. That LinkedIn course was productive. So the Montana Photonics and Quantum Alliance was founded in 2013. It was driven actually by the governor's office, who brought in a team to say, let's do an audit because we think something exists here in this space. And they did a survey and they said, it looks like we're developing a cluster in photonics in Gallatin Valley. From that survey, and it's actually on our website, and you can go take a look at the actual report that was delivered to the governor's office. It said there's something special here. So industry got together and said, yes, we're doing this. What if we did it together? And senior business leaders, leaders from government, and leaders from academia came together and formed a board. And their end goal was the growth of photonics and now quantum in Montana. And I am ecstatic to say, not only was it successful, but wildly so. Montana is now on the radar, not just statewide or nationally, we're on the radar globally. And we are going to be hosting, I believe, three international conferences here in Montana. we just got a contract with the Armory here in downtown to rent it out for the entire week, and we'll be hosting a conference with NASA and the European Space Agency focused on space-based LiDAR. We're working with, and that's going to be funded by IEEE. We're working with another global photonics company, Optica, and they are looking to do a precision ag conference, but focused precision ag with photonics. And when Matt said, this technology is coming, this technology is here. Just last week, we were with Director Green over in Grand Farm in Fargo, North Dakota. They have an NSF engine for $160 million. And I got to see self-driving tractors. I got to see robotics that can identify, using smart photonic sensors, weeds. Pick the weeds and move on. We also saw drones, and it was funny. I live in Churchill, Montana, and I was talking with one of my neighbors, and he says, yeah, we're having trouble because we can't use sprayers anymore because the airplanes, as they fly over, the subdivisions are encroaching on the farmland. We have to do something different. He said, I was thinking about maybe doing drones. I said, wait, I know this one. I know a guy. And you're going to start to see drones spraying crops here in Gallatin Valley. So yes, it's high tech. Yes, there's a lot happening. We have 53 members. I see several members in the out here in the audience right now. It's employing over 1,000 people directly here in Montana, another 5,500 in the supply chain. But yet it's still somewhat unknown. And when I saw the hands that went up, I thought, this is great, but we have more work to do. And the Headwaters Tech Hub, the chamber, the governor himself, he had a delegation that went to Taiwan in November. I think there were 4 of us on that photonics delegation. And just today, we're hosting a group of almost 30 Taiwanese senior leaders from industry here in Bozeman, Montana, wanting to know how they can connect high tech with what they're doing in Taiwan with Montana. And one of them sent me a PDF this morning that I shared with Stefan and our board as a whole. And the numbers they're talking about, they're not talking about $1 million. One of them was 30 billion. One of them was 1 billion. These are projects that they're looking at doing with Montana. And I chatted with a fellow, his name's Peter, and he said, yeah, I know where the money is. And we have industry ready. We're looking for a problem to solve. So it's an exciting time.
Great job. It's not our first rodeo. Okay, the gentleman next to Jason, our friend Stefan Heinemann from Fix USA, general manager, is validating how smart he is every time we turn around, because he chose to establish their presence in America here in Bozeman. Not long after that, we got a designation for the Headwaters Tech Hub. So Stefan was ahead of the curve, looking into the crystal ball. Would you please tell us, Stefan, what was it that drew you to Montana, and what was it that made you go back to the Netherlands and convince your head office that this was the right place to invest?
Well, thanks, first of all, Matt, for having me on this panel. I really appreciate the opportunity. Also, thank you so much. As I just learned, 5 minutes ago, I'm really on the hot seat here. Because 2 years ago, I think Aurora sat here, and they just recently raised $860 million in around D or whatever it was. So we're looking forward from Fix to have the same kind of success and be back here in 2 years and report similar numbers. But anyway, coming back to your question, why are we here in Montana? So we are, first of all, who are we? The Netherlands and Europe specifically has been very strong in integrated photonics. They have been working on this for the last 2 to 3 decades and have created significant momentum with the state, with the federal government, and with the European government. And they have made significant inroads in mass markets, such as datacom, telecom, biotechnology. And they've built a whole ecosystem around photonics and how to use it in the markets of the future. Just to give you one example for that, the Netherlands, well, actually to finish that thought first, the Netherlands is also, interesting enough, Europe's largest agricultural country. I think there's like 20 to 30 Netherlands fit in the size of Montana. and it got 14.6 million people. So they have a different kind of housing crisis than we do. It's for them, it's cows or houses, right? But what that initiated is a push for high tech to make the most out of the resources that they have. So they have a very vibrant ecosystem on using high technology, photonics, in making agriculture happen. You just said it, Jason. You can use it to identify weed, autonomous tracking. That's all autonomous tractors. That's all a reality over there. So once I heard from Jason that this is brewing here in Montana, I'm here. Count me in. It was a no-brainer. Having a very similar field where we can really contribute from the Netherlands, and being able to put our feet down in a country that has a very similar mindset, like we do in the Netherlands. Pride in work, loyal workforce, direct goal-oriented working. That all resonates very well with our headquarters. And we're in the field. We're experts in the field, so we are very well set up to bring technology to the States, but also create opportunities from here over there, right? So the mutual benefit of small companies on both sides of the ocean in a very similar field of line of work, and welcoming personalities that really made us choose Montana and Bozeman specifically as our home base. And I was just last week on a trade mission with the king and the queen of Netherlands. Believe it or not, they still have a king and a queen, and the Dutch people really worship them. So we toured the Northeast, and it was really interesting to see and to learn how different states behave and attract business. And I couldn't help myself but thinking, this is really like what we're living every day here, right? We're so focused on bringing new technology into the state, setting up manufacturing, creating opportunities for small companies, for large companies to do manufacturing in the state. That is really what I saw in Connecticut, Albany, and other states, in Toronto. The businesses we are in, besides precision agriculture, about opportunities for the future, are also datacom, very, very important field for us, in quantum. And both of them are, again, we are very close to the hub of datacom, obviously the worldwide hub is Silicon Valley, but being also at a kind of a seed for quantum technology with all that's going on in the state, it makes it the perfect grounds for us here, and we're happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Stick with Stefan for just a moment. Stefan, would you explain in 2 minutes or less what it is that Fix is going to be doing as part of your consortium membership with the Tech Hub?
Yeah, so we are fortunate enough to contribute to what we call the integrated photonic ecosystem. So this is basically, using electrons to make light, and then manipulate light for applications, as we said, in the precision agriculture. So we at Fix, we are a contract manufacturer of that technology. So you can come to us with an idea of, here, this is what I want to do. This is my end application. And we help you to design the product, make the first prototypes, go through validation, and then scale with you all the way, hopefully, to the millions of units. So we get little tiny silicon chips where you can either guide electrons or you can guide photons. We put them together, we put them in a little tiny gold box, and we make a new, very functional device out of it.
Perfect. Thank you. Jason, last words for you. Close us out. Give us some positive motivation here.
Positive motivation.
Yep.
Sure. Change is part of life, right? Change is happening. And if we look across the state of Montana, things that we've done historically and done very well, that are great, but we're going to see new industries pop up. We're going to see new businesses come. And with that, it's going to present a series of challenges. It certainly is. One of the goals of the Tech Hub, and though depending on which slide you look at, we're trying to add in the next 10 years, roughly, I'm going to use 25,000. Sure. 25,000 jobs in Montana in the next 10 years. That's going to present a series of challenges, not just for industry, but for our communities, so on and so forth. As we make this pivot, We need people to say either I'm going to be part of the change or I'm going to be subject to the change. We all have a choice to make. And, I have 3 daughters, similar ages as Matt. I would love for them to be able to stay here in Montana and raise my grandkids. But to do that, we're going to have jobs. And we're going to have good, high-paying jobs. And not just in Gallatin County, but across the state. I'll be flying out on tomorrow to go visit VACCOM. How many of you know VACCOM? I've heard that term. VACCOM's going to put 1,000 jobs in Lewiston, Montana, focused on semiconductor manufacturing with photonics. This is part of that change, this wave that's coming. So my encouragement, if you want to know more, please reach out. I'd be glad to have a conversation with you. We have a board member over here with Travis Wood. We have a member with Jimmy with Cushing Terrell. We can tell you what's happening. Help be part of that change. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely nothing could be more true than the one thing constant in our world is change. And so I love what Jason said about either be part of the change or be subject to the change. And I think that's really important for all of us as we consider the changes that are going to happen in our own businesses. Thank you so much to the panelists.